And it's brought to you by guess who, John? Tito's Handmade Vodka. The Raiders. They need a hero. They need a hero. And maybe it's going to have to be Gus Bradley. Damon Arnett not taking first team reps. I mean, Cleveland Furl, like you told me that today. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that information. That's not breaking news. But Damon Arnett. And there had been, remember, Vic Tafur had written a while back that be prepared for that, basically. So he warned everybody. But Gus Bradley's got to be to make or break this thing this year on defense.
You know what's funny is I had heard, maybe we talked about, I'd mentioned on the podcast over the last 6 months, but someone had told me in the NFL that a huge area of contention over the last, of John and Mike Mayock was that pick. Now, I don't know who wanted him, who didn't want him, just they were not on the same page with that pick. I'm not talking on draft day a year ago. I'm talking after the 2020 season when clearly they didn't think. And they got a lot of shit for it, right? And they've gotten a lot of shit for a lot of their picks, I would say, really in the first round, beside Josh Jacobs, who the one thing with Josh Jacobs, if you remember, Daniel Jeremiah had been pounding the table they're going to take Josh Jacobs. He said it over and over for 3 months leading up to the draft.
It was a poorly kept secret.
Yeah, and it's worked out well. The other picks have been a disaster. And can you overcome? You can overcome missed picks, right? Everyone, a third round pick, a fifth round pick, a second round pick that does. Can you overcome back-to-back misses in the first round? And then I do think that puts a lot of pressure on their first round pick this year, who was, would you say, pretty much the most polarizing pick of the first round, it felt like, or at least one of them, right? Leatherwood?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of them. I think there was so much unknown with him that I don't know that I would call him. I mean, Arnett felt like he was one of the most polarizing picks. His draft, I would say more so than Leatherwood. Do you think that's true?
I think that Leatherwood, like Arnett, was both for NFL people, wow, just how high he went. Yeah. Not that Leatherwood was a starting tackle for Alabama, right? Arnett was a starting corner at Ohio State. So they leaned to big programs, starting players. It's never that weird. I think a lot of people viewed that guy couldn't you have got him at 40? Both people. And then immediately, Leatherwood, it was the Ravens would have taken him at 28, everyone. That was not the case, you're right, with Arnett. People are couldn't you have got Arnett in the middle of the second? But this is what we said from the jump, that Gruden, his understanding of value is a huge problem. Now, anytime you change coordinators, players are in flux. It's just a nature of changing a coordinator. But it's one thing to have that fourth guy in the fourth round, whatever, he couldn't make the team with his new scheme. First rounder should be pretty scheme, a defensive end and a fucking corner, right? I mean, it's a problem, right? But it is what it is. Tafur tweeted, these guys are running with the twos. There's no debate. These guys just aren't starters, It's pretty. So when we're nitpicking, can they make the playoffs or can they not? And unlike last year where I thought they could make a wild card, I am not going to pick them to make a wild card this year. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty confident. I'm not picking them to be one of the 7 teams.
I think they got a shot. I do think they got a shot because of what they are offensively, but no, I don't think
you going to pick them to make the playoffs? It's early.
I don't think I will because so much of that is, it's just saying, okay, Gus is going to save this team, which he might make them better, but they're coming from so far back.
John McClain saved New York City. Can Gus save the Oakland Raiders? I guess the Vegas Raiders?
I was going to go side by side, bald Gus and bald John McClain, but McClain actually wasn't bald in this movie, so he wasn't yet part of the Brotherhood.
He was. I mean, it was thin, right?
Yeah, it was thin. I could find it for you.
It was Handsome Rob.
He looks good. I mean, he wore it well.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. He has more hair than I thought.
More than I did
too.
Okay. Yeah.
I also put him on the Mount Rushmore bald guys because once he went bald, he was just
Michael Jordan, Bruce Willis,
Bezos. I think the fourth is somewhat up for debate. Yeah, I went the Rock. Is Neil Armstrong bald? The Gus Bradley thing. I do think it just might not go well. And it might not be his fault. It just might. The Chargers tweeted out this, like, and all these teams are doing it, but like a 3.5 minutes of Staley, their head coach, mic'd up. They didn't really call it mic'd up. Clearly, I don't know if there's a mic following him, whatever. And one thing you realize, like, he's the defensive coordinator. So at practice, like, the offense is going, he's talking to Derwin James through the walkie-talkie. And it's just like, but also he'll be like, good job, Derwin. But he'll like, great job, Keenan. He's trying to balance it, calling the defense, but like rooting on his guys because he represents the team. But you just realize all these guys are flying around. You're like, God, they're like, Kenneth Murray, get in there. He's their first-round pick from Oklahoma, the linebacker. Like, they just had a lot of talent on that Chargers team. Like, legitimately high-end talent. I'm not even talking Bosa yet. He's coming to a team that just does not. I mean, they're depending, like, Yannick can be our star pass rusher. Like, he has to have a bounce. Like, he's got to resurrect kind of his career because it kind of fell off a cliff, for a guy that we thought was going to be like this 12 to 15 sack a year guy. And if trending the wrong way, then all of a sudden pass rushers get paid. The Raiders, remember, got him for like $20 million guaranteed. That tells you, like, that was his market.
Right.
So he has to be a Pro Bowler. And then you're just going to have to get some of these random young guys to just become established players. And anytime you depend on that, like, once Fred Warner, it's like, oh, yeah. But, I mean, for a couple of years, you didn't know, right? Or Waller turns into Waller. Like, there is that unknown period that, listen, and any Raider fan would tell you, we've had a lot of hype on a lot of guys over the years that just, they don't turn into what you hope, right? I mean, even Khalil Mack, once upon a time, was like, can this guy do it? And then 2 years in, he's like, okay, he did it.
Oh, that's what's crazy is, like, you're not even talking about trying to get Deion Sanders and Reggie White here. We're just talking about trying to get some starters.
Yeah, just a solid player. I feel pretty good about that.
The Raiders. We're just trying to get some starters, John.
Diehard Raider fan, Haberman.
That's the crazy part. That's the part that is.
But the one thing, even if we just don't even take Denver that seriously, which I don't, because I've seen a lot of my timeline, like, Drew Lock really matured. It's like their quarterback situation is just like Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. Give me a break. So, okay, I'm not taking them that seriously, even though they do have a lot of talent on their team. The Chiefs are a powerhouse. Listen, I'm not overreacting to these Charger videos, even though they look incredible. We just know they have talent. And I think we talk about the Chargers. I know you and I did, and most people around the country did last year, as they were a 2 or 3 win team. They did win 7 games, right? They did actually win more games than I think that perceived. And if this coach...
And they lost some close games.
Yeah, they lost it. All their losses for the last decade have been these crazy losses. Their coach, if he is just better than Anthony Lynn, he doesn't have to be, I know he's the favorite to win, like, Coach of the Year. Like, he's just one of those public bets, right? Because people think, like, they might be a playoff team, and he'll be like the Stefanski this year. To me, he doesn't even need to be that. If he's just like, okay, Brandon Staley is just solid. We know their quarterback, their offense is loaded. If Derwin James is healthy, like, they got stars on defense. Like, how do they have more star players than the Raiders? Now, I don't know about the coach. And listen, it's a coaching league. It's a quarterback league. I trust their quarterback. I don't know about their coach. But if he is just solid, that's a problem for the Raiders. Because that
major
means
problem.
They'll be good.
Yep.
And when I say good, 10-7. If the Chargers are 10-7, like, that's a problem for the Raiders, right? Because they have been kind of just dwindling in that 6-7 win range the last couple of years.
Not to mention their schedule is not. I mean, you go back and look at the way it starts. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Is that week 1 and 2? Is that week 2, Pittsburgh? I think so.
Yeah.
Miami, then the Chargers, then the Bears.
Think about
Broncos,
this guy.
Eagles.
Monday night Ravens, who I think by the time that game comes around, you and I have talked, we think that number is probably going to get closer to like 6.5. I think the bet is going to be just take the Raiders in the points because every human being is going to take the Ravens. I'm going to bet on the Raiders that week because I think it's.
Is that going to be our lock of the week? We got to bring that back.
I don't know if I'd go lock of the week with that game. Would you?
No.
Against the Ravens?
Are you kidding me?
But I do think there's going to be value there where you're just kind of shorting the masses. Because what would you sometimes like during football season when it's like the 5 biggest public money, I could see that being like 98% Ravens, right? Getting cash.
We got to look. I'm already pulling up the. We're not going to do lock of the week starting in the preseason, right? We'll do that starting week 1.
Yeah, starting week 1.
There's some. I mean, there are some just major unknowns lock of the week. What's the Niners number going to be?
7, be my guess.
I mean, the Rams at home, what will their number be against the Bears on Sunday Night Football? That's intriguing.
I'd feel pretty good about the Niners -7 and the Lions.
How about Miami at New England? How many points is Miami going to be giving the Patriots on that day?
Where's that game?
New England.
I don't hate taking New England there if they're getting like 3 or 4 points. Do you think they would or no?
It feels like 2 to me and a half.
It does feel. One thing we got to keep an eye on is like a couple of preseason games. I could see some line movement happening, right? People be like, "Whoa, this team's an underdog." It's hard. I wouldn't place a bet. You can't really. I mean, you
talk about
can't.
like now.
Yeah, but like you just know, quarterbacks get hurt, things can change fast. You're like, "Oh shit,